with our economy. Julian, very good morning to you.
Good morning.
I've been saying this morning really that, it's a pity that people think the markets are dictating how our economic sort of recovery and our economic future is, because my view of the markets is that, people make money when the markets go down, they make money when the markets go up, they don't make money when they're flat. We shouldn't be all filled with doom and gloom just because the markets have dropped a bit.
Well, it depends why the markets are moving. And I think in the case of what we've seen over the last few days, investors are very worried about the impact of the new tariffs, not just on the global economy, but actually on the US economy. There are some very sharp falls in US equity markets overnight. And I think actually the markets are probably onto something. I think Trump's tariff policies are economically illiterate. And even if you like them, there's so much uncertainty about what he's going to do next that people are not sure where to put their money or build their factories. So I think the markets, in this case at least, are onto something, and we should be worried about the economic outlook too.
Isn't a lot of it like with Donald Trump in many areas of his policies, whether it's foreign or otherwise or economic? It's a sort of wait and see as well, isn't it?
Well, that's part of the problem. A lot of what Trump is doing is just sort of throwing the pieces up into the air and seeing where they land. And it's possible in some scenarios that the US economy might end up stronger as a result, and that might be a model we might want to copy. But there are also plenty of scenarios where it all goes horribly wrong. And in the meantime, of course, investors and businesses simply don't know what to do. So by and large, if they're holding financial assets, they sell them. Or if they're looking to make investment decisions or hiring assets, decisions off. So the uncertainty alone is damaging, regardless of what you think about the underlying policies.
Yeah, but there's a lot of that uncertainty built into the markets nowadays, isn't there? Not particularly in Britain, with the way that the economy's been run by this particular government.
Yes, so there's certainly a lack of what economists call animal spirits, and I think one of the problems that this government has created and exacerbated is looking too much at what the sort of economic models tell you. And not enough going out talking to real businesses and to households. As others have pointed out, there's a lack of any substantial economic or business experience in the cabinet, and they genuinely seem to have been surprised that when you raise taxes on employers and increase labour costs, businesses don't like it. They cut hiring, they cut investment, they raise prices.
How could they not know that?
Well, yes, to you and me and all of your viewers and listeners, I'm sure it's blindingly obvious that was going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, unlike Rachel Reeves and yourself, I'm not an economist, but I mean, I could have told them that.
Yeah, and they assumed it would be offset by other things. So they assumed that people would be happy to pay these higher taxes because some of the money at least will be going into increased public spending on public services and investment and so on. That's all well and good, but that spending will only provide any benefits over the longer term, and only then if it's spent wisely. In the meantime, all people can see is their bills going up, their tax bills going up, increasing job insecurity and all the other things that are going on.
Right, exactly. And Keir Starmer doesn't seem very sure how to react to this tariff business either, does he?
Well, we've got another big problem here, which is that I'm not sure who's advising Keir Starmer on economic policy. It's clearly not an area that he's comfortable with. If you look at his performances in parliamentary questions, he keeps making mistakes, muddling inflation and interest rates, for example, a number of times recently. So he doesn't understand economics, and I don't think he's got a strong team of economic advisors around him to push back against Rachel Reeves. And of course, Rachel Reeves herself, she is an economist, despite what some people say. I just don't think she's a very good one.
Yeah.
So you have a fundamental problem there that the government doesn't really understand economics or business, and that's reflected in their policy choices.
And that is a massive problem, isn't it? I mean, when you've got an organisation running the country who don't really know effectively, you're saying they don't really know what they're doing. I mean, what are the Treasury about then? What's the point of having all these civil servants in the Treasury if they can't advise the government?
Well, a lot of economists, myself included, are quite critical of what's sometimes called sort of treasury brain. It's a sort of bean counting mentality. But I partly blame the politicians for that as well. After all, Rachel Reeves has doubled down on the fiscal rules. And consequently, she's the one that set the agenda that the Treasury has to follow. That said, there are a few positive things going on, as I've mentioned before, things like planning reform, and there are some areas of deregulation in the economy that the Treasury is helping to drive. So I wouldn't entirely blame my former colleagues at the Treasury either.
Yeah, but I mean, considering the numbers of people involved in stewarding supposedly our economy, it's very haphazard, and it seems very, very unpredictable.
Well, there's a fundamental deeper problem here. Is can we really expect politicians in Westminster or officials in Whitehall to run the economy? I simply don't think we should expect that. I think as far as possible, it should be left to the markets to sort out. The individual decisions of businesses and consumers will produce much better economic outcomes than some committee in Whitehall deciding that.
But then you lay yourself open, I suppose, to the vagaries of the markets and the mood of the investors and the mood of the traders and all of that, and which could also be in its own way quite unstable.
Well, no system is perfect, but give me the sort of realities of capitalism, if you like. And there's these sort of hypothetical worlds where politicians are all seeing and all wise, and the government always gets it right. I think experience, both in this country and elsewhere, has shown that markets, generally speaking, get it right. It's the politicians that get things wrong, and the best thing the government can often do is get out of the way.
Yeah, well, I guess very few politicians would agree with that, and that's why they're politicians. But there we are. Good to talk to you, Julian. Thanks very much indeed.